The crime has left many people shaken. Others are outraged.
Today, bond was denied for a Norfolk mother and her boyfriend. They are charged with felony child abuse in the death of the woman's 2-year-old daughter. Medics found the little girl unresponsive at the couple's apartment in Ocean View last week. She later died.
Today, we learn more of the disturbing details about the child's death, and Robert Boyd talked to neighbors who are appalled.
Well, a memorial sits outside the apartment where the alleged child abuse took place. People who live around here say they are just disgusted by this 2-year-old's death, but they also say they're in disbelief that the man being charged in this crime has a history of child abuse. 23-year-old Shelby Love and her boyfriend, 33-year-old John Hardy, appeared in court Monday for their bond hearing. According to the Commonwealth, Love's 2-year-old daughter, Harley, was scalded in the bathtub, experiencing burns over 30 to 50% of her body. She also suffered head trauma, but investigators said for 11 hours, the toddler did not receive any medical care. Instead, the couple put vinegar on the toddler's wounds. They finally called 911 when the girl started having seizures.
It's about the saddest thing you can. I don't understand how a human can do that to somebody.
You don't know who your neighbors are. It's scary to know that, scary to say you don't know who your neighbors are.
Neighbors say what's most disappointing is that according to the Commonwealth, Hardy was not supposed to have any unsupervised contact with children. He was convicted in 2013 for beating his 18-month-old son, causing skull fractures.
His sons used to come here, 3 of them, and apparently he wasn't supposed to even have them over.
It's sad that he was allowed to live with a child. So it's crazy.
Krista Harden says there are a number of young kids who live in the apartment complex. It's scary to think a known child abuser was living just feet away. They were both denied bond today. What do you think about that?
Good. I'm glad. They don't deserve to be out.
Love's attorney claimed that the child's mother was not home when the abuse took place, and Love herself was a victim and feared for her own life. 13 News Now went to Hardy's parents' home in Virginia Beach and spoke with his mom over the doorbell camera. She denied to comment on the case. One other side note, the judge in this case said this crime is the most horrific she has seen during her 10 years on the bench. In Norfolk, Robert Boyd, 13 News Now.
Another College Beach weekend is over, and once again, the event is marked by violence. 4 people were shot at the Virginia Beach oceanfront over the weekend. We brought you the first shooting Friday night as breaking news. Someone was shot near the convention center just as the event was getting started. Then Saturday, 3 more people were shot, including a woman who was hit in the neck right there on the boardwalk. People we talked to say they definitely saw an increased police presence, but maybe next year the city needs to come up with more family-friendly events and more organized events.
We knew it was going to be a rough weekend, like everybody knew.
Music, everybody loves music, and there really didn't have anything like that around here.
Because that's all they do, they walk up and down the strip.
Virginia Beach police are still counting the number of crimes committed over College Beach weekend. The police chief will present those numbers to City Council sometime in the coming weeks. So far, we know police arrested at least 25 people between Friday night and Sunday.
Tomorrow is Election Day in several Hampton Road cities. There are council seats and school board seats up for grabs in Hampton and Norfolk. Voters in Chesapeake and Newport News also holding elections for council and school board. And both of those cities are electing a mayor. In Chesapeake, current mayor Rick West will face Joanne Gallant. In Newport News, it's a 4-way contest for mayor. Incumbent McKinley Price is facing city councilman Marcellus Harris, Dominic Green, and Santil Creekmore. The polls are open tomorrow from 6 in the morning until 7 at night.
Virginia Beach needs a new mayor as well. Today was Will Sessom's last day as mayor of Virginia Beach. Earlier this month, he announced he is stepping down to explore opportunities in the private sector. Sessoms has been mayor for nearly a decade. Before that, he served on city council. Combined, that's nearly 20 years of service to the city of Virginia Beach. Today, Sessoms told us he does not know where he is headed next, but he is proud of what he has accomplished while in office, namely the tourist investment program, the TIP Fund.
The TIP Fund basically is funded 90% by the people who visit Virginia Beach. It brings more revenue into our city that allows us not to put as much of a tax burden on the real estate tax.
Tomorrow, City Council will ask the city attorney to file a petition for a special election to replace Sessoms. That election will take place in November.
Coast Guard crew was called to a cruise ship just a few miles off the coast of Virginia Beach this morning. The captain of the Carnival Pride called for help after a 69-year-old woman had a heart attack, and then a 56-year-old man suffered a seizure. Coast Guard helicopter launched from Elizabeth City, hoisting the two passengers along with a nurse on board and flying them to Centerra Norfolk General Hospital. Rescue crews from across Hampton Roads are working as one team this week. They're taking part in the 25th annual Rescue Challenge. The exercises help first responders train for life or death situations. Reporter Megan Puryear shows us what the rescuers learned today at the scene of a mock crash under the Veterans Bridge.
Firefighters all across Hampton Roads came together today to specialize and learn the technical skills for extraordinary situations.
A bus lies on top of cars in concrete rubble as crews begin to move in.
We're simulating a bridge collapse where there's a bus and multiple cars involved with multiple victims that are pinned under cars.
These firefighters are part of the 25th annual Rescue Challenge. Fire Captain Brian Lee says it's these trainings that can make all the difference.
Technical rescue specialists have a significant amount more training than your average firefighter.
Crews learn how to use equipment to face heavy obstacles so that they'd be prepared for any scenario, says firefighter Jillian Gallego.
As we use all different types of equipment, whether it's chains, airbags, we have something called struts that we use to help stabilize and also lift the concrete and also the bus to move it off of the victims.
Gallego says it's training like this that shows how important teamwork is in a life or death situation.
So if something like this were to happen, we automatically know that it is something that just our city alone can't handle, and it becomes a regional response. So being able to get everybody else involved and help us.
Lee says this training is vital because you never know when an extreme situation could happen.
So it gives them a chance to work together and get used to working on an event or on an incident like this, so that if something in real life happens, we're all going to be working together.
In Chesapeake, Megan Puryear, 13 News Now.
There are 8 total drills this week as part of the Rescue Challenge, each at a different location, presenting rescuers with different scenarios. An investigation is underway to figure out what caused a fire at the Amazon plant in Dinwiddie. The fire started this morning and it took hours to clear all of the smoke and reopen the building. Crews found the fire challenging to knock down because of all of the high racks and boxes. More than 50 firefighters from 5 different departments worked to put out that fire. Fire officials say it takes a lot of work to put out fires such as this one.
The problem is when you dump the 8 sprinkler heads, your fire guys are working with a screaming alarm in the background. They have 1,000 gallons of water a minute out of those 8 heads pouring out of the ceiling on them, trying to get to the fire. All the fire is in racks, so everything's got to be gotten out of the racks that's burning.
Multiple investigators are working to figure out what caused the fire. Amazon has not yet said how this could impact deliveries.
Military children go through a lot as their parents are serving our country. That is why there is so much support for a new law that is set to go into effect. Governor Northam signed the bill today at Kecoughtan High School in Hampton. It would let military children stay at their schools tuition-free, even if their parents are transferred to military housing in another school division. The bill passed the House and Senate 140-0.
I watched a lot of military children move back and forth, and I saw that they had those tears in their eyes when they had to leave, and it just broke my heart that they had to be uprooted.
According to the Virginia Department of Education, the Commonwealth teaches more military children than any other state in the country. There are more than 70,000 military students enrolled in Virginia schools.
Tonight, the White House announced it will hold off for 30 days before deciding whether to exempt some countries from steel and aluminum tariffs. President Trump had set a midnight deadline on whether to permanently exempt the European Union and 5 other U.S. allies from the tariffs. If the European Union loses its exemption, it is threatening to retaliate with its own tariffs on American goods. In March, the president announced tariffs of 25% on imported steel and 10% on imported aluminum. Situation involving a caravan of migrants is intensifying. About 200 people from Central America are seeking asylum in the U.S. U.S. border agents have denied them entry into the country for a second day, saying the border crossing facility does not have enough space for them. Inspectors say they'll resume processing when they have more space and resources. The facility at the Mexican border with San Diego is the busiest in the country. About 50 people camped overnight on the sidewalk.
President Trump says he is leaning toward the DMZ for his meeting with North Korea's dictator Kim Jong-un. Tonight, the president said there is something he likes about meeting at the border between the North and the South. The U.S. and North Korea are still negotiating the date and location for the summit. President Trump says if the talks are successful, the celebration would be at the DMZ and it would be memorable.